a job. Like, how am I gonna make a payment? Like, if I use the credit card, how would I make the payment? They know we don't have a job. We're in school. Like,
Right. And I got the credit card, and I remember the very first purchase, right? It was a pair of sneakers, Jordans. And I don't know, I had a job. I could have just paid it with my own, out of my little paycheck, whatever I got. Nah. And I don't know about you. I felt powerful when I made that purchase. Okay.
day one. Okay,
Yeah.
been down this road before. So in this chapter, basically, I was given a brief history on some of my use or abuse of credit cards. So when I was in college, I think that's when I got my first credit card. Like they used to come in line the hallways of the student union. So everybody you sign up. I mean, everybody was getting a credit card.
Yeah.
It's literally that easy. And
Yeah.
I couldn't understand it at first because I'm like, they know we don't have a job. Like, how am I gonna make a payment? Like, if I use the credit card, how would I make the payment? They know we don't have a job. We're in school. Like,
Right.
I don't have
And
no
you
job.
got you got the frisbee, the T-shirt, the hat, right? That come with the credit
Right.
card. Yeah, I remember those days.
All that
I didn't
stuff.
never signed up. Thank you. Yeah.
So got the first credit card, used it. Probably had it like 1 month and didn't make the first payment. Literally did not make the very first payment. How you do that? I was just, but you know what was playing in my mind? Oh, I won't have to pay that. I just pay it, like when I want. It wasn't nothing but like
So when
$10
you
or
get to
$15. That I think I used $100 on the card. It was just,
hmm
it was such a bad situation. I'm like, that's such immaturity right there. Like you don't need a credit card. Do not need a credit card.
No,
And
no.
then later on in life, as after I moved out on my own and I graduated from college, bought my own house, got credit cards again, but this time I wanted to pursue a career in real estate investing. That was my goal. That's what I was gonna do.
Right.
So I quit my job, just left. No plan,
Yeah.
no. I had some money, but not a lot, not enough to like sustain me for like a year or anything like that. So I wound up being out of teaching for probably like a year and a half. I think I was out. Most of that time I was living off of credit cards because I had signed up for credit cards again. They gave them
Yeah.
to gave me the business credit card, gave me
Yeah.
personal credit cards.
Right.
I had like $40,000 worth of credit.
You went all out, girl.
All out.
You got it
Every
in.
month. I
Yeah.
would write a check to myself or call them and tell them, send me. I only needed like $3,000 a month at the time. That's all. So I'm like, send me $3,000. Then I would pay them back my monthly payment.
Right. Wow.
And pay the rest of my bills and
Wow.
my living expenses for the month. And then the next month do the same thing again.
Wow.
Oh man.
Well, my first credit card, I think it was a $2,000 credit card. Something came in the mail. I said, you know what? Why not? I'm not gonna tell you who talked me into doing it. Man, don't worry, man. It's good, man. You can do it. I ain't gonna tell you who told me that, but you know him anyway. But I said, yeah, you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna do it. And I got the credit card, and I remember the very first purchase. Right, it was a pair of sneakers, Jordans, and I don't know. I had a job. I could have just paid it with my own, out of my little paycheck, whatever I got. Nah. And I don't know about you. I felt powerful when I made that purchase. I didn't have to come out of my pocket with cash. It's somebody else's money. But I walked out of there with them size 12s. And man, I said, that felt good. The bill ain't coming for like another what? I had an introductory offer, right? No payment for 90 days, no interest. Wow. Oh, you couldn't tell me nothing. No, I'm out there, right? Next purchase, I think I loaded up on food. Not groceries. I'm talking about delivery, right? Chinese, Domino's, the whole bit. Well, the long and short of it is, by the end of that 3 months, that $2,000 was gone. Never looked at the interest rate. I'm gonna let that sit for a second. I thought it was just gonna be $2,000 for $2,000. Hey, I can do that. Nah, that interest was about 18, 19%.
Wow.
I didn't mention the cash withdrawals, right? That's a whole nother high percentage.
That's a whole nother thing.
Right? So I said, you know what? The minimum payment is only $29. Oh, I'm loving this. wasn't making any dent at all in that
Right.
debt. Well, Pooh, the long and short of it is, I got another credit card. I had 3. You know, because I said, well, if it's that easy to get, I can get 2 more. Well, then, right? So now I got 3 maxed out credit cards. Now I wasn't 40 in the hole. I probably was about a good 15. But when you're not making a lot of money with the accrued interest, it's even worse. So here's what I did. I said, I saw this thing on TV where you could, what do you call it? Consolidate your debt. They used to have a little 1-800 number. I called it, consolidated it, got on a plan. I'm thinking I'm free. I went and got another credit card, lay it on top of that. Oh, I wasn't done. Because it's that easy to just do that. I can just live for today, not worry about tomorrow. Well, by the time I was done, I think I was about 20 in the hole. And at that point, I had my wake-up call because I couldn't do anything. My credit was bad. I remember I went to go buy a townhouse. They was like, hey, man, you in the hole about 25 G's, man. And, you know, this thing been sitting on your credit report 7-8 years, right? The income I had wasn't commensurate with the debt. So I couldn't do anything. And it was in that moment that I said, all right. And I actually went and talked to like one of these debt people, and they told me how to knock it out. Well, by the time I got married, I think I had whittled it down to about $5,000, which was good. But I should have never had the debt in the first place because I didn't learn my lesson from the first credit card. And I think that's what you're saying. You just never learn.
Right.
And it was a circumstance that woke us up.
Right. And it's good that you say that because I did learn. I learned my lesson. I don't like that feeling of not being able to do anything. Like I hate going to some place and like, oh, you know, like they don't have to pull out no special book for you because you know your credit, you in that little range where you know just barely making it kind of thing. No, I like them. Oh, we haven't seen this in a long time. Like, that's the conversation I like to have right there. Like, look at this 800 right here. That's what I like right here.
You don't want to see those 500 and 600s.
Right. Very minimal debt.
Right.
Love that. Love to have those conversations with people. I could not stand that feeling of not being able to do anything. Like, you know, like
debt with no assets. No assets either, right?
No assets.
That was the other thing. The only asset I had, I think, was just my job and whatever little retirement that I had, and that little itty bitty mutual fund. And those weren't real assets, considering what my debt was. My debt to income ratio was was pitiful. And, I mean, it was pitiful, man. I mean, but again, and to this day, since that day, I have 2 credit cards, right? 0 balances. One credit card is like the emergency, hey, something goes wrong with the house. The other one said, okay, I just need to get a quick, you know, do something really quick, like a $3,000 payment, but that thing is paid off within 2 weeks. I don't even let the interest accrue. Right. Because I'm so scared that I'm going to go back to where I was 20, 30 years ago. And I don't want to go back to that because it's like a ball and chain that's on you. That debt comes in. And I even told my daughter, you know, hey, if you get a credit card, you set the limits, right? You don't need to get a max limit. Get it like $500 and then you pay that thing off every time because you don't want to get in a hole like I did at a young age, especially without a job.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. And even with the job, I mean, like you were saying, it's not free money. It's really a ball and a chain. It is not extra money.
Yeah, they don't tell you that.
Right. It's not extra money.
And
you so know, now I do have credit cards. I use my credit card because I don't like my debit card information being out there. I do use my credit card, and my credit card is paid off, like you said, like twice a month. I pay whatever. I on the first, I sit down and pay my bills. On the third, I pay that credit card off. That's it.
And the thing is, what you learned is before, when you had the money to pay it off, you just refused to do it. I don't know why we do that, right?
Want my cake and eat it too. That's the only thing I can think of.
It's like, I know I can pay it off right now, but I'll wait. Man, get that thing knocked out, right? Because if anything, it clears your conscience. I know for me, like, I'm trying to think, when was the last time I had a credit card bill and interest accrue? It's been a long time, but I get to sweating a little bit
Mm-hmm.
So I'll be like, okay, look, you know you're gonna pay it in 10 days or whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
right? Calm down, dude. Nah, nah, nah. I might put a little something on it beforehand, just
Right,
to drop a
right.
thing or something, right? But it's just interesting because
Right.
once you go through a traumatic experience, as we did, which is credit is it's a traumatic
Mm-hmm. It
experience,
is traumatic.
you know, you kind of learn how to manage that because it
Mm-hmm.
can cause undue stress and anxiety knowing that you owe and that bill's coming and that interest rate is 15% and all that other stuff. And you just trying to do everything you can to avoid it. And
Mm-hmm.
you got to have discipline, and,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because it's hard. And then they'll raise your credit limit, right? If you're really
Right,
good, they'll raise your credit limit,
right,
right?
right,
Oh, now you really in there now. Another
right.
temptation. You got it. I'm just saying, man. It's a that credit card is no
Yeah,
joke, man.
yeah.
I have one at my job, right? You know, we have a we have one at my job, and they're like, man, how come you never use it? Because you know we get per diem. Yeah, use credit card for per diem. Nope, because that's Uncle Sam's credit card, and
Right.
I ain't playing with that, right? Look, matter of fact, I don't want to know what the balance is because I know it's a pretty high balance, right?
Yeah.
But I tell them, I said, look, man, I mean, I only use this card to make the hotel reservation and the flight reservation. All
Mm-hmm.
that other stuff is out of pocket, and y'all can just reimburse me from there because I
Mm-hmm.
want to know that if I'm being reimbursed, it's with government money to pay
Mm-hmm.
back a government expense.
Right.
That way, you guys aren't looking at it as me out there just flossing. We in France, whatever,
Right.
and I'm just really just blowing it all up.
Right.
Because then I'll flash back to when I was young, thinking I got it like that, right? And some of those expenses that I spend on, they may not be covered by Uncle Sam. I don't need that drama in my life.
Right. Absolutely
I
not.
don't need it.
So I think what we can wrap up about this chapter is like we've been down that road before. We learned that credit is not extra money.
Yeah,
And you got the money in the bank, pay that thing off if you have
right,
to. And like I said, I use mine. I feel like I use mine wisely now. I don't like my debit card information, my checking account information being out there because
yeah,
everything now you can kind of do
right,
digitally, right?
yeah,
So
yeah,
I got a credit card just for that. And that's
yeah,
what I use it for, to pay bills I pay online. So that
right,
my money is always sitting in my bank account and
right,
it's
right,
ready for me to pay the bill. Like I said, but I can't hold it long. Like I said, I sit down, pay the bills on the first, on the third, when everything clears, I pay it
right.
off.
Right.
That's
Well,
it.
you know, I made a few notes in your book because the good thing I
Okay.
like about your book is not only
Mm-hmm.
does it give good tips and you share personal little anecdotes about the
Mm-hmm.
stuff you talk about, but you have a note section where you could take notes at the end of each chapter,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I made a few. I made 5 notes just
Okay.
based on that chapter alone. And you covered about 3 or 4 of them already, but
Okay.
I'll reiterate them. First thing, using debt to pay debt is bad. Very simple. Don't do it. Secondly, pay off credit card balances at the end of the month, just as you said, on time. Don't wait or hold money to pay off a debt. If you got it, pay it off.
Get off.
Okay. Uh, number 3, keep your credit card limit to what you need versus what they give you.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, for instance, yeah, you may be authorized $8,000, but
Mm-hmm.
do you really need $8,000 on a credit card? You may only going to be using it sparingly to go out and buy clothing or go get gas, or you want to get the little rewards points, but do you need $8,000?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So keep that balance to what you need versus what you're actually authorized. And
Right.
if you really need it, you can always call them and say, hey, you know, you guys authorized 8,000. I'm at, I don't know, 3,000. Can you bump it back up to 5? And knowing what I know, they'll have no problem doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Need versus want. Oh, and then the last thing, uh, don't take cash advances on a credit card.
Do not.
Don't ever do it. Okay. Now, I could use the analogy of, well, if you're in the desert and you have no other choice, well, guess what? If you're in a desert, there's not going to be an ATM machine out there. Therefore, you won't need to take a cash. Don't ever do that. That's not good, you know. And I'll put it this way to kind of close out my remarks on this.
Mm-hmm.
Think of a credit card as legalized loan sharking, right? We just came out of COVID. I think one of the credit cards I got the notice, the interest rate went from, well, I had an 8.9%, where it went up to 28%
Wow.
during COVID,
Yeah.
right? And everybody knows what kind of credit crunch we were in during that time. 28%. And this is a guy with great credit, no debt. pretty good salary, right? I do pretty good. Household income's pretty good. And they were like, nah, man, 28%. You know what I did with those credit cards? Took them out my wallet, put them in my office. We're not touching those.
Right.
Until you guys come on back down. Because in fact, I even thought about just getting rid of. But my point is, using credit cards and the money that they give you is almost like legalized loan shark, and it can really sink you. So just be responsible, and everything that you said. Just if you do that, you won't be in a hole. You can avoid putting yourself in a deep financial hole, because you're going to need that credit later, that credibility later when you want to make big purchases.
And it takes away from your future. That's my grandmother told me a long time ago. You know, when you use these things, you're basically selling your future.
Yes,
You'll
you
never
are.
have anything.
You are. Absolutely.
You're going to want to buy a house. You're going to want a car.
Yeah.
Those kind of things. Most people don't have the cash for that, you know, sitting around. So you're going to need a loan for that anyway.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that way you build your credit. And like you said, get that smaller credit card balance. You don't have to get what they give you. You call them and tell them what you want.
Right.
That way, and you still use your card, you still building your credit.
Right. And I think you covered this in the book about, and I'm sure we'll get to it in another discussion about how to structure paying off your cards, like paying the lowest one first. And what I told my daughter is, like, she has a $500 limit. And I told her, what she says, why do I have a limit so low? Because if you show them that you're responsible with $500, it builds your credit score. And it shows that you're responsible paying that off. Plus, it gives you peace of mind knowing that you can eat a little bit of a sandwich versus a big a foot-long sandwich at one time, right? Because when that bill comes in for $1,000, it hits a little different than $500.
Definitely.
And so I know we'll talk about how to get out of the hole, but that's one of the reasons too why you want to keep that credit limit as low to what you need versus what they actually authorize you to have.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. That's chapter 1 or day 1.
That's it.
That was
That's
a good
it.
day. Hey, I
That's
hope
it.
everybody, you know, got something that they could take from this. I feel like we poured out, we opened up ourselves, told the good and the bad, the down and the dirty about ourselves. So
Yeah.
hopefully everybody got something.
All right. Get
All
the
right.
book. Read the book.
Get
Make
the
dollars
book,
and
definitely.
cents.